Welcome back to Block TV. This is Trader's Take, where we're joined by our very own technical analyst, Joe Saz, who's going to help us take a deep dive into the crypto charts. Tell us what's happening. Joe, what's going on in the crypto sphere?
Yona, always a pleasure to see you. And in the crypto sphere, we got a lot going on. in the charts, we have some beautiful stuff going on as well. Jumping to the Bitcoin US dollar 15-minute chart here, you can see that we've been making some beautiful, steady, strong progress out of these dangerously low $7,000 areas and really fighting our way. This is oh well, hold on. What time scale am I on? All right, this is a little late. Let's look at these 15-minute scales. We really rejected a very dangerous space here, and we bounced up and we consolidated, continued to move up, and I'm really happy to see that we're consolidating outside of the $7,300 territory, particularly to the upside of that, above that, because that is kind of running consistent with my theory that we can hit $8,200. And $8,200 might not just be a pipe dream of a good shorting opportunity. Let's say it might now be a good opportunity to remain long, and that's my goal. Obviously I think that this transition is coming to an end, and we did dissect this a little bit. Saw a lot of the volume here was in the buys. I took a close look at this one. It was all basically one buyer. In fact, I could do that quickly here. You can see on a 5-minute chart, this is all buy, and especially with that candle. For some reason I'm not scrolling along here fast enough, but you can see that this one candle over here consumed almost no wick space at all. I mean, this is a body top to bottom of a candle, and it is all buy volume. So we definitely have serious buyers entering the space. I think the closer we get to 75, 7600, the better off we'll be for our ultimate position into the low 8000s. And from there, let's reevaluate. I think that this is starting to look more like a reality, though, and I'm very happy about that.
Mm-hmm. And in that support line, did it get below 7,000 at any point, or it's actually been maintaining above 7K?
It actually got as low as, let me see, what was that low? It wasn't, now of course my chart isn't loading. The low wasn't bad. I want to say it's the 7250 or so. Mm-hmm. Let's just get this thing over. I'm so used to using a mouse, this trackpad just,
What happened to your mouse, man? Did your cat eat your mouse?
The cat did not eat my mouse, but the bulls have been eating up some bears, that's for sure. Now, we came down as low as 6850, and this did probably get some blood rushing. But after a move like this to the downside, or the upside for that matter, consolidation is usually indicative of a further move in that direction. Now, the rejection off of 6850 was what a lot of people would consider on the daily chart a completion or a confirmation. Let's get this set to the daily, of a very obscure head and shoulders formation, inverse head and shoulders formation, which would put the baseline of the right shoulder, the inverse right shoulder, at around 7,600. I think a lot of people are taking a look at this as one of the technical playouts. I mean, right now it's such a hard market to call that I think this might be as concrete of an pattern as we can get. Others might see other things, of course, but for head and shoulders, I'm not very pleased with what I see here, but I'm willing to accept it for what it is, if that's if that's what it is. And obviously we need to see it play out. We need to really break out through 7,600 for this head and shoulders to be validated. And obviously once we break that, that I'm of the opinion that 78, 8, and 82 are going to be pretty easy to chop down once we're consolidating in the mid 7K range. And we're at the bottom of the mid 7K range. Let's get above 7,500. Let's get above 76, and then I think we have a really strong chance at hitting that 82 target. And again, January might not need to be a terrible month. We already experienced a few bad days. Hopefully we have a higher low, obviously consistent with the right shoulder of the, above the head. So I think there's a couple things that we have going for us as far as a technical narrative. I really do feel like the transition of buying and selling is moving more toward a bullish takeover of the market, and we've talked a lot about when the bears were in control. So I think that this transition is coming to an end, and I do feel like bulls are going to come out the victor. And but let's really see. I think these the next 3 days matter most right now, in my opinion, regarding the head and shoulders. And if we can get that head and shoulders breakout, inverse head and shoulders breakout, then that'll be really good. It'll say that people are excited. It's a little bit technical, of course, but then we'll have to be ready for whatever pullback comes next, because if that's how this market's going to be, with a lot of hesitation as we reach these areas, price points, but less important price points than time points, in my opinion. I think the closer we get to the halving, the better off we'll get, and the less doubts buyers will have that it's a good time to buy, and the more doubt we'll have that from sellers that it's a good time to sell. So I mean, we just need to ride this up, and hopefully, a technical play out that pushes us into a bullish posture will combine the effect of the halving and really get sellers out of the market.
Let's hope those next 3 days bring more of the head and shoulders and less of the knees and toes, knees and toes. Well, take us next to Ethereum. What is the ETH market looking like?
Yeah, oh man, I'll try to talk and try not to laugh hysterically at your amazing jokes there. Let's see here. Ethereum popped. All right, similar to Bitcoin here. We're on a daily chart, and let me just zoom in a bit. We have, I want to see if this is a higher high. It looks like we're fighting, and we're right in the wick space of this local high. So Ethereum isn't looking too bad. 5% move to the upside. Consolidation seems a little steep. Last time we had a big move like that, we did have a seller reaction. This I would say this does look toppy, but again, we have a number of hours. Let's see, let's see, is that 15 hours, 16 hours before the daily candle closes? So we have a bit of time there before we get anything, but no clear indication of a pattern or anything. I do see an ascending trend line here. This might even be the top end of a possible ascending triangle. So let's keep that in our scope. But this does feel a bit toppy. So depending on where we land, a lower low could be dangerous. Then a lower low than $126 can be dangerous. But if we stay in this, then this could be a nice little breakout scenario for Ethereum. Small breakout. I would bet that 150 to 160 would be the range for that breakout.
Is that the 50-day moving average right there that it's on the cusp of?
Yep, that's an excellent observation there. It is the 50-day moving average, not far from it, and as you can see, it's coming down pretty fast. So that confrontation is going to be met very soon. That's probably about 3 days to 5 days out. It looks like it's about 3 clean, assuming that we go straight sideways from here. 5, more likely 5. But that's a forced confrontation. Based on how things are, I would say we haven't really rubber banded back to the 50-day moving average. It's came and caught up to us, or the price. So that's not really a situation I love, and would say, if we cross over this wall running sideways through a diagonally down moving average, that's not going to create the best bullish argument in my eyes. I prefer that argument with trend lines. When you have a long-term trend line that's been moving down, even if you cross over it while accumulating or consolidating in a sideways trend, that makes me a little bit more bullish. But grinding sideways into a 50 moving average, I'd be really curious to see how Ethereum reacts. But I would say that I'm on a 4 out of 10 bearish in that scenario.
Wow, very bearish on the 50-day. But what if we actually jump up and hit that 200-day moving average? Is that within scope?
I think that's what people put in their pipe. They call that hopium. That's a little bit of a stretch in my eyes. We have basically, I'm going to consider this an average moving down, even though it's starting to round off. we have pretty much consensio in the sense that we have multiple moving averages, short, intermediate, long-term moving averages, all trending down. I wouldn't be betting on a big move right now to the 200. I think that's a little bit out of reach. That's like a 60% move or so to hit that 200-day moving average at 190, and anytime soon. I mean, it's coming down at a rate of maybe a couple dollars a day, maybe a dollar a day or so. So I mean, for us to pop this in 5 days, 3 to 5 days, I would say our next best target would be the intermediate term moving average, which you've seen we've resisted numerous times and broken down violently from. And so I would say this intermediate term moving average is probably our most likely adversary if the 50 doesn't happen to do much. If we grind past it, we break out through the 50 MA as it meets this ascending triangle. We break out to the intermediate term. But I would feel pretty comfortable saying that if that does happen, it does indicate, to me that I've been saying that the wider market space, or that Bitcoin in particular, seems to be transitioning out of a price discovery phase and into a bull market, and the wider market will ride that wave as well. So if that's the case, it doesn't matter what each technical picture looks like. I think that as long as there's money in the space, especially with these top 10 cryptos, we're probably going to see them band together and throw more money at this, and maybe outside investors who believe in the projects will do the same. But yeah, let's take a look at that intermediate term moving average first, at hovering around 160 to 170 as our first opponent, as if we happen to break the 50-day moving average with some velocity.
We'll definitely keep an eye on that in the days and weeks coming forwards. Let's check out another one. How's XRP looking today?
XRP, can never say that without a smile. Excuse me. Oh man, I'm
You're allergic to
not at my
XRP, it
best.
seems like.
Yeah, I have an inhaler here that helps me talk about XRP. Let's see here. We're consolidating, and if I make the same argument for Bitcoin, I don't care if we're consolidating on the upside or the downside. It is providing a space and time where people are psychologically accepting the price. Now, we are consolidating in the teens, and that's pretty interesting to me. I would think that 20 cents is pretty important to XRP bag holders. Like psychologically, like tens are pretty important. $100 aggregations in Bitcoin are pretty important. And $1,000 aggregation, $1,000 price marks. Now, I would kind of look at that the same way, like a 10-cent area is important in XRP. So the fact that we're fighting and struggling to stay or even get close to 20 cents flat, we're at 19.3, 19.3 cents. It's kind of weird to me. We're grinding sideways into the median of this downtrend. So it doesn't really seem like there's too many sparks of hope right now. What I'd want to see in this, as I call it, outer space, what I want to see is some sort of obvious rejection of price. And what we're getting is a psychological acceptance of this price. And an acceptance of a 19-cent XRP is not that much difference to me than a 13-cent XRP. It's teens. In general, that's the psychology that you'll kind of keep, that'll kind of be at the front of your focus. So the fact that we're in this new, price range of the, 10 cent to 20 cent range, I can easily see this thing moving down, and I don't think it'll take long to do that. And the worst part is, how often do we hear good news about XRP and banking bullshit, banking relationships, and the most interledger or ODL usage. Let's see, they called it ODL after it was XRapid, and all part of their probably ploy to make them seem a little bit less, make XRP seem a little bit less like a security in court. But point is, ODL I think reported some good numbers between the U.S. and Mexico, and there's all these bullish news scenarios going on, and XRP just never responds. People aren't selling the news, people aren't buying the news. This just is a little corner pocket of the space, and I think they probably spend more on advertising than they do on anything else to make this thing have a name that's out in the open. So I just don't see, I just can't see this asset really performing well anytime soon, especially if you have bullish news that should be really driving, some sort of curiosity in this asset that compels people to buy, newcomers in particular, if this thing's, all over the news or whatever.
Well, if they're able to release 1 billion XRP every month, their ad budget should not run out anytime soon. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today, giving us some good news, some bad news, and definitely looking fresh with that turtleneck sweater over there. I want that next time. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. And for all our viewers at home, if you want more on blockchain, crypto, or even just to see a nice turtleneck, check us out at blocktv.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.